around and come back here, take a picture.
Shara Park is a 7-time Emmy-winning journalist, nationally recognized for her breaking news coverage of the 2022 riots in Salt Lake City. Shara joined the KSL 5 news team in 2007 and for 18 years filled many roles for the local NBC affiliate, from day-to-day reporting to anchoring its new newscast to fill in host for popular lifestyle show Studio 5. Shara's been featured on several radio shows and podcasts for the station, and before leaving KSL in September, Shara was also leading the company's digital efforts as host of their newly created KSL Stream Center. We are so excited and delighted to hear from her, so I'm going to let you take it.
Awesome, thank you. Hey guys, no, I'm good. Perfect. Come on in.
They're just signing in.
I love it, I love it.
You guys will just quietly sign in and then go down.
I think we should eat cookies while we talk. What do you think? I like that idea. So that's how we're going to start, because that's the best way to do this. Let's grab cookies and then let's come sit down, and this is going to be back and forth. We're going to talk, we're going to learn about broadcasting, we're going to answer questions, we're going to show some clips, we're going to show you some of the most memorable stories that I've covered, and a lot of these you will remember because they happen right here in our community. And we're just gonna have an hour of just going back and forth and just hopefully teach you what it's like to get into this business, what it's like to be a broadcaster, to work in television, on the digital side of things, and get to where I've been in my career today. So go grab a cookie and then come back and sit down. Hey, Coach. Good, how are you? What? That's fine. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Are you part of this?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, grab a cookie. Huh?
Able to see you. I'm so sad.
I want to come here and share. I love it. I love it. It's so fun. Welcome.
Full of students. So like,
Will didn't even know he's like doing the announcement. And he was like, "Meet the pro, Shara Park." What? That's my mom. So hopefully,
this is so cool.
This is cool. There's a lot of kids here. I didn't know how many there'd be. You never know. Like, is it gonna be 10?
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How fun.
This will be good.
Well, maybe I can sneak in for a little bit.
I love it.
Pop in and out.
Love it.
Let
Love
them
it.
check on them and then come and see us.
That's cool. We'll get to see you. Awesome.
Don't trip.
All right, grab your cookies, sit down. I want to give as much time as possible for questions. What's up, Drix? Oh, Ben, what's up?
I brought the sports site.
I love it.
Super excited. So.
I love it, I love it. Grab a cookie. Oh, thanks. Okay, grab a seat, grab a seat.
Hey, really fast, when she's talking, we're going to pass a clipboard around. I know your teachers have already excused most of you, but we want it for our work-based learning members, so just write your name, okay? Thanks, guys.
Okay, quick hands. Who's here from a broadcasting class? Okay, some. Who's here from like just a journalism class? Love that. Digital literacy, math, biology. All right, so just kind of sports. I saw we got a volleyball player. Yeah, I love it. Okay, here's the thing about broadcasting journalism. It comes from everywhere, right? So I started in sports. I was going to be a sideline reporter for the NBA. That was my goal. And somehow I ended up here, back in Utah, working for KSL for the last 18 years, and just recently left to come home and be home with my kids. So, but this is me. I've done news anchoring, reporting. I'm a digital content creator, and most recently streaming for KSL TV. And so I want to give you a quick, brief overview in terms of visually what I've been doing as we get into this. I'm going to show you a quick clip here, and then we'll get into it. Ready? Can you turn it up?
Welcome into KSL 5 News at noon. I'm Shara Park. Hey guys, welcome back over to Studio A. I've got Gentry with me as we were talking about the FM 100.3 Christmas concert series at the Shops at Southtown. Like many families today, Joseph and Kelsey are working full time and they're barely getting by. Let's turn to our other news of the day happening right now. The closing arguments in the Lori Velo Daybell trial in Arizona.
Good morning to you from the Sandy area. All right, I just wanted to show you how much snow we have here.
You folks,
Got
right
one
here
system
on
coming from the north, another coming from the south, and it is just creating a crazy situation with our weather. But to show you what's going on here, we're right at that front line with police clashing with protesters right now. Actually, police, they have been very calm. They have been very patient this entire time here on this front line. We've got Smith's Jeff Jackson, of course, our wonderful chef who joins us and brings us the most delicious meals. And today we're talking about skewers.
Yeah, good evening, everybody from Chopper 5. We are flying above Parley's Canyon right now, and I want to show you this. That is the Salt Lake Valley behind us there in the background.
Familiar with hoops? We've got it.
Oh, yeah.
Football? We're there. Hockey? We're getting there.
All right, so we had this idea. I'd like to play your story from yesterday because you have a lot of content in there because the governor was down there. There was a lot of information that was provided from that. If you don't mind, I'd like to get folks caught up on what you had covered yesterday, just kind of get everybody up to speed on that. And then I have a few questions in terms of where you think this is going today.
This is breaking news from KSL.
We never know which water main breaks are going to be a real doozy, and this one was a big one.
We begin with breaking news. A Sandy couple dealing with such a mess after a major sinkhole swallowed up a large portion of their front yard.
Chopper 5 there giving us its exclusive look of just how big this thing is. Shara Park joining us right now on scene just west of Alta High School.
Shara, just how big is this thing?
Yeah, this thing, Mike and Deanie, was a big mess. It is a big mess. Take a look at this thing. 25 feet wide, approximately 15 to 25 feet deep. But that's just an educated guess at this point because...
Okay. All right, so that's just kind of an overview of what I do, or I did. That's hard to say that. So like I said, I just recently separated from KSL. So that's what I have done for the last 18 years at KSL. A little bit of everything. But I want to talk to you a little bit about my journey. And as I go through this, if you have questions, I'd rather this be a Q&A back and forth. So if you've got questions along the way, please raise your hand. Let's talk about it. And I'm an open book. So no question is a bad question. If you've got something, raise your hand. Let's talk about it. I grew up here in Utah. So I actually went to Granger High School. Do we play Granger High School? Do you guys play? No? Well, you'd probably kill them. So I went to Granger High, but I always knew I wanted to get into broadcasting. We had something there called GTV. Do you guys have your own little broadcasting team here at Alta where we would run around, we'd make funny videos, we'd do announcements, and I always knew I wanted to be in front of a camera. I wanted to be involved in whatever was happening. And I played 4 sports at Alta, or at Granger, and I got a scholarship to go play at Northern Illinois University. And they had a great broadcasting program, and so that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a school that I knew I could go play and make an impact, but I also knew I also wanted to be in a broadcasting program. So I found a school that fit those 2 elements for me. So I went to play for Northern Illinois University. I played volleyball there, and I also did track and field there. And I got my degree in communications and then my minor in journalism. But during that time, one of the important things when you're getting into this industry is internships. I would say that's probably more important, honestly, than the degree. So when I was in college, I was like, okay, I want to go back to Utah when I'm on summer break because I don't get to see my family during the year when I'm playing back in Illinois. So how am I going to get an internship, see my family? And so I called up Channel 4 and I said, I need to speak to your sports director. And at the time it was Wesley Ruff and Marius Payton. Those guys were there. And Marius answered the phone and I said, hi, my name is Shara Parker at the time. And I am a freshman at Northern Illinois University. I want to be a sports reporter and I'm going to be your intern for the summer. And he goes, well, we don't have interns. I said, okay, I'll be there June 18th and I'm going to be your intern. And he was like, okay. And I kid you not, I showed up. They had no plans for an intern. I knocked on their door, and I was their intern all summer. They had no other interns, but I kept showing up. They didn't pay me. They didn't, I guess they rewarded me by giving me like tickets to the Bees game and stuff like that, but I kept showing up. And that's how I got into this business. So the next summer, I called again, said, hey, Marius, I need another internship. I'm gonna come. And he was like, okay, great. So that summer, I showed up and did the same thing. I got to cover like the summer league for the Jazz, covered the Bees. I got to cover whatever was happening here in Utah with sports because I was this intern that they didn't know they were gonna have, and they threw me at everything. And so I got to go and do all these cool things and get my feet wet in that business. So finished at NIU, then I went off to Hawaii to play volleyball there. And when I was in Hawaii, I thought, okay, what am I gonna do to continue in this career path? Because Hawaii is not really a state where they've got a lot of journalism happening, to be honest. And I found some local websites that needed a sports reporter. And I started writing about all the college athletics happening at the University of Hawaii, Hilo. And so I would write about the basketball team, and I would write about the volleyball team, which I was playing on, which was probably not ethical, but whatever. I wrote a lot about myself. And I just kept writing articles for this website. And by the time that was done, I came back to Utah and decided I was gonna try to get my first job. Met my husband, got married, and ended up at my first little station called KCSG in southern Utah. And it happened to be a little sister station of KSL. A little tiny station. It's now been absorbed by Utah Tech University. And I went down there, and for a year, I got to host my own sports show that I created called the Thunderbird Report. It was all about SUU sports. And I'm talking about football, gymnastics, whatever. I had a camera, I was running around, and I was just inserting myself into all these different college athletics, telling the stories that I wanted to tell. Well, that summer, it just happened to be like the biggest wildfire season in Utah. And KSL needed some reporters down in southern Utah to cover these fires. So I happened to be good at running around and started covering some of these fires for KSL as well. Well, after a year at KCSG, KSL offered me a job up in Salt Lake here. And I came up and I started working freelance sports reporting for KSL and filling in, doing some news stuff. And within just a few months, KSL offered me a full-time job as a news reporter. So I was kind of like, okay, do I give up my dream of being a sports reporter? The hard part was, when do sports happen? Guys, year-round, but when do they actually happen on a day-to-day basis? Like nights, weekends. Okay, so me personally, I wanted to be a mom. So nights and weekends, I wanted to be home with my family. So when I looked at it and I thought, okay, what's really gonna work out for me? News was actually gonna work out a little bit better than me trying to run all over the country with my nights and weekends being a sports reporter. So I decided, okay, I kind of like this news thing too. It was kind of fun. So I switched over to news, took the full-time job in news, and then that set my career off at KSL. And for 18 years, I started in news. I started as a reporter in the field on the morning show, and then moved over and became the main anchor of our midday show from 12 to 1. That led to opportunities of filling in for Studio 5, our lifestyle show, which is, I call it the fluff show, where all the happiness happens, all the cooking, all the crafts, and all the fun stuff, right? So I got to fill in that show, which was a great show. And then filling in on our evening show. So I did that for the last, I would say, 10 years. And it was a fantastic, fantastic part of my career. And never regretted making that decision moving over into news, because I was able to handle both. I got to be a mom and be home when I needed to be, but I also got to have my career in broadcasting. So I want to tell you a little bit about the different kind of day parts in television news. Oh, I don't know if you can really see that, sorry. We've got 3 different kinds of shifts when it comes to television news. We've got an AM, a day side, and then our PM. So when I worked on our morning show, any guesses what time our morning team gets up? Just want to guess. Earlier. 3. Earlier. 2 a.m. So for 14 years, I got up at 2 a.m., which is brutal. So 2 a.m., getting into the studio, our show would be from 4:30 to 7 a.m. Then we'd have a little bit of break. We have another show. There'd be another show from 12 to 1, which is the show that I anchored. And then I'd get home around like 1:30. So our day side is what we call it, is that day part that we get in at 9 a.m. There's a morning story meeting. That's where everybody comes in. You're pitching your stories, what you're going to cover for that day. Then you go out into the field. You're calling. You're trying to gather your content. You typically turn around a story for the 4, 5, and 6, and then you're writing your web scripts after that. Our PM newscast, or our PM shift, you come in at 2, and then you are writing and turning around for the 6 and the 10 o'clock news, and you're usually home by 11 o'clock at night. So in news, is there any great shift? I'm going to be honest with you. No, there's really not. It's not ideal, but it's one of those things, if you love it, it really doesn't bother you. Did it bother me for 14 years to work on the morning show? No. I actually loved working on it. Dayside, it's hard. It's a long day. Sometimes you don't eat, but you still love it because there's a lot happening. The PM, I can't say I ever fully worked it. I never wanted to because I wanted to be home at night. But a lot of those folks, they do like it. And if you guys have questions about those day parts, about what that's like on those shifts, anybody? Yeah.
When you're like writing your script,
Yeah.
how do you find what to write?
Okay, great question. When we're writing scripts and stories, let me tell you about that. So we come up with all of our own content. So news is a what kind of business? 24/7, right? It never ends. So constantly, when I would be waking up in the morning, I was constantly looking for story ideas. At night, I was constantly looking for story ideas. So it is always weighing on your mind. So when you would come in for a story meeting to pitch, you come in with 4 or 5 ideas that you can execute that day if you're a general assignment reporter. So if I got assigned a story, I would then go, okay, if I got this story for today, I'd look at my resources and then start making calls immediately. Then I'd be getting with my photographer and saying, okay, if we've got this interview set up, we're headed out the door in 30 minutes. We'd go knock out that interview. Then we'd start looking at like, okay, what do we need for video to cover these elements of the story? Then we'd have to go shoot that video. Then we'd come back and then we'd lay it all out and have to start piecing it together to write it. It is a constant turn, but those stories are all stories that you have to generate yourself. Nobody's giving you those stories. So it's a grind for sure. What was your question?
What time do you go to bed?
What time did I go to bed? When I was on the morning show? Oh boy, it was 8 p.m., which is not fun. Yeah, it was not fun, especially if my son had a game. Then it was really rough. So yeah, it was definitely a different shift of the lifestyle. So my husband, I had 2 different babies when I was on that shift. He would put the kids to bed. He would also get them up and do their, my daughter's hair in the morning. Didn't always look great, but it happened. And she went to school. So that's how we'd manage that. Okay. One of the questions a lot of people ask is, do broadcasters do their own hair and makeup? Unfortunately, yes. There is this myth that there's somebody there doing our hair, doing our makeup. That's not true. We are the ones doing it that early, and it's not always great either. So we're the ones doing it. The other thing too, one of the things I have in my car is this giant bin. On any given day, we have no idea where we're going. So I have this bin that has boots, it has a hard hat, it has jeans, it has a suit, it has rain boots. I mean, it has everything you could possibly imagine because we get thrown at different ends of the state or out of state at any given moment. So we're pretty much constantly on a whim. Yeah.
Are they paying for your gas or the plane tickets whenever you have to?
Great question. Are they paying for gas? Are they paying for those kind of things? Most places, yes. Yeah. So most places pay for your mileage or if they're going to send you out of state. So for example, I got sent to cover a terrorist attack in England. I had just come home from St. George on a trip and got a call that said, can you get on a plane in an hour to go to London? We had a Utah man who was on a bridge and there was a terrorist attack and he was killed. And I had already had my bag. I literally had walked in the door with my bag and was like, yeah, I can get on a plane. I took that bag and went straight to the airport. They had my ticket booked, and I was on a plane to London within an hour. I don't even know. I literally took whatever was in St. George, and I think I grabbed a sweatshirt and was out the door. But they bought somebody coordinated my plane ticket, coordinated my hotel. We got there, hit the ground running, and for a week we covered a terrorist attack of this Utah man who was killed. So it can happen that quick when breaking news happens. It happens very fast. Yeah. Any other questions about that? Yeah.
Where do you hear things like that? Like when do you find out that a Utah man was killed and injured?
Yeah. Information goes very, very quickly. What's very strange is whenever there are big breaking news stories, for whatever reason, there's usually a Utah person involved. I don't know if it's just because we have such a far reach with our community, with LDS missionaries, with just, I don't know, whatever it is, but whenever there is a big situation, we pretty much always have a Utah person involved in it somehow, if you've ever noticed that. And so a lot of times we automatically just plan and know we're going to be going. But because of the news industry, it is so wide and so far reaching, information travels very, very fast. And everything's connected, right? We are, with us being with NBC, so NBC has branches everywhere, all over the world. So that information travels back basically like a hive mind. That's a word you guys all know probably pretty well right now. It travels all back to that main source, and then it gets sent back out to everybody who needs to know it really fast. But information travels very, very quickly. What doesn't travel as quickly is us deciding whether or not we want to put that information out. There's information that will come to us that we will hold on to for hours before we put it out. For example, the passing of an LDS prophet. KSL will sometimes know about it for hours before they actually publish it because you need to confirm with multiple sources. So we will make sure we hold on to things to verify and re-verify before it ever gets published. So, yeah.
Whenever you get info like that sinkhole, do you have to get permission from the family to film it?
Good question. She asked about the sinkhole. Do you need to get permission to film it in a situation like that? So there are certain restrictions, right? Private property versus public property. In that case, because the sinkhole did go over into the road, we can shoot it right from the road over into public property. But with that case, so it was the cutest couple. They were in their 90s, and I showed up, and they were adorable. If I showed you they did a whole interview with me, and they talked about how they just wanted to throw themselves in it because they were 98 years old and ready to go. They were hilarious about it. They were like, just throw us in, we're done. But they gave me permission. They're like, come on our property, we'll show you. It actually flooded their entire basement because it broke a pipe. And yeah, it made a mess for them. And so they were really sweet. The mayor showed up, brought them flowers. It was a whole thing. But I just put it in there because it was literally 2 blocks from here. But yeah, there are restrictions. Certain times, if we go up to a piece of property and it is private property and they ask us to leave, absolutely we have to leave. But if we're in a public place, we can shoot across into a private setting as long as we're not violating somebody's private privacy. Right? I can't shoot necessarily you if something is going to violate your privacy. Yeah.
For getting that out of state stuff, do you have to sign up for a specific job in order to do that, or is it just any reporter position?
Yeah, there's certain jobs, right? So with me, I was a general assignment reporter for many years, and my specialty was breaking news. And so I was usually the first person they would call in a breaking news situation. So I was typically the one they would call and send first, no matter what. There are other types of reporters, investigative reporters, health reporters. So there are a lot of specialty reporters out there. But in that case, when it's that kind of situation, when there's big breaking news things happening, it was typically me that they would send. Yeah. Okay, Okay, so I'm curious. I'm going to ask some of you guys, who actually wants to get into broadcasting? Tell me why. You want to be famous? Okay, there's no shame in that. Anybody else who wants to get into journalism? Anybody? Or have a desire to try it? Okay, what about sports broadcasting? Anybody interested in that? No? Writing of any sort? Okay, what about you? Why? You like to write? Just like the creative writing part of it? Okay, camera. What about the digital side? Photography, anybody? These guys like photography. Why would you like to get into photography?
I was thinking people would be able to get out there and explore and see things with my own eyes, so I can just...
Exactly. I love that. That was my answer. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to see things with my own eyes. I wanted to be in the middle of things. Who likes to be in the middle of things? Ben? Yeah. There's no shame in that, you guys. I was a class president. I was an athlete. I was all those things. I wanted to perform. Do we have any performers in here? We got some performers here, performers, dancers, cheerleaders, anybody? Girls in the back, what do you guys do? I'm a dancer. All right, we got dancers. What do you guys do over here? Dance. Any cheer? Anybody else? Any theater? Theater, nobody? Okay. You guys, I wanted to be in the middle of it. I wanted to perform. I wanted to be out there. I love the journalism side of it, but I wanted to be in the action. I wanted to be where things were happening. I didn't want to be sitting on the sideline watching. I wanted to be the person you guys were watching. And I'm not afraid to say that. I wanted to be the person on the sideline. I wanted to be the person next to the NBA player. I wanted to be the person in the chaos everybody was turning to. And that's why I got into it. And I was good at it. I wasn't afraid to be in front of people. I wasn't afraid to talk to people. And so I knew that was the right fit for me because that's what this would put me into. It would put me into a performance aspect. It would put me into the journalism part of it. I wanted to know things too. Anybody nosy? I mean, it's okay to want to know things. I wanted to know stuff. I was always asking questions, and I was always arguing too. Anybody argue a lot? Anybody think they're right all the time? Well, you guys, you might want to think about journalism. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to find out who was right. I also wanted to make sure people were right and weren't lying. I hate liars. I hate when people aren't telling the truth. And I like to call out people when they're not telling the truth. So I wanted to be that. And I don't think there's any shame in saying that. So when a broadcaster says, oh, no, they're lying, they wanted to be in front of the camera. That's what I wanted to do. And so that's what I was going to do. So I did it. How many celebrities have I met? Oh, I don't, who knows?
Do you have pictures with all of them?
Yeah, I honestly thought about doing a slide, but then I thought it was stupid. Presidents, NBA players, musicians, all. The thing is, honestly, the celebrities aren't the intimidating ones. You know who intimidates me the most interviewing them? Politicians. I know, right?
I can. Which presidents have you met?
Obama. Who else came here? Trump. So Obama and Trump were the last two.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But the politicians are the hardest ones for me to interview because I don't know, they intimidate me. They intimidate me. They never answer the question the right way you want. Yes, they always are trying to turn things around. It was hard. Yeah. Who's my favorite one to interview? In terms of celebrity? Oh, great question. Favorite one to interview in front of... You know, it was probably the guy from Imagine Dragons. The lead singer, Dan Reynolds. Yeah, he came on our show a couple times, and to be honest, he was so nice, so down to earth. You would think like somebody that big would walk in with like a whole, he literally walked in by himself. He drove down to KSL and just walked in and was like, hey, I'm here. Like, Dan Reynolds, like, sells out stadiums, like, not, like, so cool. I think he sang happy birthday to my co-anchor. No, Garth Brooks. He sang happy birthday to me, and I didn't expect it, and I, like, literally cried. Because I don't fangirl for a whole lot of people, but Garth Brooks I did. Yeah.
Who's your least favorite to interview?
Least favorite to interview? I don't know if I can answer that.
You have free speech here.
We'll just say it was a politician. Okay, memorable stories. I want to tell you about these three right here. So the one I told you about was the terrorist attack, right? So I told you a little bit about that one. That was kind of the chaotic situation that is journalism. It happens very fast when it comes to breaking news. A lot of broadcasting, a lot of that happens very fast. and you have to be able to go on a whim, at least the journalism that I did. Another one of the memorable stories was, I'm going to tell you about Ethan here. And this was actually my first Emmy. This little guy right here, this little guy passed away 16 years ago last week. He would have been, he would have been 20. I'm trying to think how old he would be now. He'd be an adult. When I met his family, so I had heard about this little guy named Ethan in West Jordan. His brothers all played soccer, and he had a glioblastoma, and he had very few days to live, and cancer. And his family found out some neighbors were going to do a little celebration, a holiday celebration. They were going to do, I believe the first one was Halloween. And I thought, oh, that's a really great story. The neighborhood's coming together to celebrate Halloween for him. So I went out and I covered the neighborhood trick-or-treating. It was on a random, like, Tuesday. They all dressed up in their Halloween costumes. They went out and they all trick-or-treated for this little guy. All the neighbors did, they all decorated. Well, the neighbors thought, let's do all the holidays. So they trick-or-treated. Then they did Easter. Then they did another holiday. And then they ended the week with Christmas. And everyone in the entire neighborhood, I'm not kidding, everyone, well, it made me cry. They all lit up their houses with Christmas lights. They had a huge neighborhood nativity come on his lawn. And KSL flipped on the FM 100 Christmas station. It made me cry. And played Christmas music. And the whole state, you guys were little. I don't even know if you guys were here. The whole state ended up turning on their Christmas lights for this little guy. And he died 3 days later. But he got to celebrate Christmas with his family, and he celebrated all those holidays in 1 week. And so I covered every single one of those. And his family, the day he died, called me and wanted to tell me. And we're so grateful. And they were just so thankful that they had all of it on camera. And they were so grateful that I had captured all of those moments for them. And it was the first Emmy I received, and I took it to their house. I received 2, and I took it to their house, and we opened it together. And to this day, they send me every wedding announcement, every birthday card. They have become ingrained in my life. That's what journalism can do. Like, it can bring communities together. It can connect you. And so, yeah, that little guy right there is why I do that, do stories like that. That is why journalism exists. The breaking news is one thing, but it's the storytelling like that. Okay, sorry, that was a little emotional. This right here, you all lived through. This day right here is the day Utah shut down, COVID-19. I'm going to tell you about this moment. This here is the war room at the Utah State Capitol. What you're not going to see here is, let me flip to the next slide, is all of this. So I was standing up there, so my news director calls me and says, I need you to get to the state capitol now. I said, what's going on? She said, COVID-19's hit Utah. I said, oh, great. She goes, there's going to be an announcement at the state capitol. You need to get there. I said, okay. So I run up to the state capitol, and I'm standing there, and everyone's staring at me. And they're waiting for me to go live. And so I'm literally in this corner right here, going live. They're all waiting for me. They're all staring at me. This is happening with all these doctors. I've never been so nervous in my life. So all of them are like, are you ready? Are you ready? You're good? You're ready? The governor's waiting for me, everything. And I'm like, okay, we're doing this. So I opened it up and then basically announced to the state that we're having this major press conference that COVID-19 has hit the state of Utah. And the state board, Utah State Board of Education lady, I remember asking her, are we going to shut down the schools? And she said, no, we're not going to shut down schools. And you know what happened the next day? we shut down the schools. Whoa. So that moment right there is a significant moment in my career. I've never been so nervous in my life. So do you get nervous? Do I get nervous? Absolutely. Especially when all of that is waiting for me for them to start that press conference. So that was a big moment. And then as you know, that changed everything for a long time. This was another big memorable story for me. So with COVID, changed the Olympics, right? I was assigned to go to the Tokyo Olympics. And because of COVID, it sent the Olympics back a year. And so Tokyo went from 2020 to 2021. And here's what's crazy. When you think of the Olympics, you think of stadiums full of people, right? So I went to cover beach volleyball because we had Jake Gibb, who's from Bountiful, who's one of our beach volleyball players. And this is the stadium he played in. And I am in the stands covering his game. And so I'm like, all right, Jake. Oh, sorry. Because literally nobody's in the stadium and he could hear me. It was such a crazy experience covering an Olympic Games that nobody was at. Nobody. Go to basketball, covered in basketball. There's 10 people in the arena. Could you imagine, Ben, playing in an arena on an Olympic stage and nobody's there to watch you?
You're another little squeaks.
That's nuts. Your dream is to be an Olympian. And the only people there are reporters? That's lame. I'm sorry. No, but like just crazy. And you're testing. They were doing COVID tests every like hour. It was absolutely bizarre. But you know what? It was amazing. It was so cool because everybody was watching at home. Everyone wanted to see. Remember that was the one where Simone Biles bailed out of the Olympics? And that like blew everyone's mind. That opened up that whole mental health conversation and changed the conversation for mental health in the United States, in the world. Yay. That was huge. That was huge. So I covered that. We got to interview her. We got to interview our Utah girl who was a gymnast at the University of Utah. It was wild, absolutely wild. Any questions about the Olympics, covering that? Kind of crazy.
Have you covered any others?
Olympics? No. We covered a lot of Olympic events, like the leading up to it, a lot of our Utah stuff, like the announcement to come here, a lot of our prep work, a lot of the prep work going to other Olympics that happen here. But they usually typically select a new team to go cover different ones. So I'm actually glad I got to cover this one. I'm actually really glad. Okay. This is the last one I want to talk about, and I'm going to show you a clip from it. How many of you guys remember this? Yeah? What do you remember about it?
Started as a George Floyd protest, correct?
It did. It started as a George Floyd protest. What else? Anybody else remember the Salt Lake City riot? Yeah? What do you remember?
I almost went.
You almost went? Okay. This is probably one of the other most memorable moments of my career. Okay? This was chaos. Did anybody watch it on television? Yeah. It went for probably 18 hours. It was flipping cars downtown, Salt Lake City, police cars, stuff getting lit on fire, knives being thrown, things you would never imagine happening here in Utah. At the end of it, I stood there in disbelief after 9 hours on the front line of that. Could not believe that happened in my community, in our community. And so I'm going to play you a clip from it.
Looks like that's Shara there. Shara, looks like there's something's going on.
Can you see this right now? We got one man who had a bow and arrow who was pointing at people, and now he's being attacked by this mob of people. The police are standing here. They're starting to move in. We got a vehicle that has been. They're jumping on this vehicle. They're punching this man. He had a bow and arrow in his hands a moment ago. I saw him pull back the bow. I don't know if he used it towards somebody, but I can't tell you he was attacked, he was being punched, an entire group of people jumped on top of him. Police have now made their way. Here he is walking across. Police are escorting him out of the area. He has a bow and arrow in his hand. yells at him and he is yelling back. He's bleeding. We have a vehicle that's also in the street that is damaged. People are jumping on it. They're jumping on his vehicle and they're smashing the windows. I don't know if that's his vehicle, but the vehicle that he was next to. And here it goes again. It's escalating as we ramp up here. Protesters are jumping on the vehicle. They're smashing it with skateboards right now. It looks like they're attempting to try to flip it, but they're throwing things. Shot, back up. Back up, back up, back up. Back up, back up. You guys, we are right next to all of this. These people are jumping on the vehicle. They're smashing out the window. They're pulling things out of this vehicle. We can only assume that this vehicle belonged to that man.
This is just unbelievable what we're witnessing right here. Shara Park line for us, 400 South 200 East. Go ahead.
People are smashing out the windows. They are throwing things at this vehicle. It was a short time ago. Yeah, I got people saying next to me. First of all, tell me your name.
I'm Kyrene Galanis, and this man in this car pulled out his knife that was this long, and he pulled out a bow and arrow and tried shooting someone. Multiple people.
Did it have an arrow in it?
Yeah, it did have an arrow in it, and he pulled it back and tried fighting someone. Do you almost ran people over?
Is this helping? The whole point of all of that was to be a peaceful protest.
It was supposed to be a peaceful protest, but people are tired of trying to get peaceful protests. It's not working for us. We've been trying that for the last couple hundred years, and look at what it's done. All it's done is just make more people mad.
What do you want to happen now?
All I want is justice for George Floyd and every other person who was killed by the cops. That's all we want, and they are understanding that.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you guys?
Okay, so that, I would say, probably was one of the, honestly, most memorable, just because that was something so shocking I never thought we'd ever see here in Utah. And it really changed, I think, the way I viewed Utah and how we covered our news here in Utah. I think it changed how we covered news and opened up the minds of a lot of people. Yeah.
Do you know if that guy had car insurance?
Oh gosh, I don't know what happened to that car. I know they lit it on fire shortly after that because I was standing next to it.
That guy's probably in jail. I mean, he was like threatening people.
What's interesting is, you know what happened as a result of all that? The Salt Lake City Police Department went back through all the video from all the stations, and they arrested almost every single rioter that was involved in all that. So as a warning, be careful what you're involved in. And there's cameras everywhere, you guys, everywhere. I'm sure a lot of those rioters didn't think that that would come back around to them, and it did.
Surveillance state. If you go outside,
yeah, it did.
Police know where you are.
A lot of them did. Any questions real quick before I move on to this real fast? Okay, changing the media landscape here. Media is changing. Two things here, streaming and social. Towards the end of my career with KSL, I was heavily involved in our digital efforts at KSL. I was doing a lot of streaming stuff every day. A lot of it is, where is anybody getting their news now?
The internet.
The internet, but what? On what device?
The phone.
Their phones. And so news has to get to your phones. The traditional way of watching the news on television is dying. That's obvious. And so I was leading KSL's effort in trying to get news to you on your phones. And so that was streaming every single day, trying to take our news, putting it on a platform that you guys or anybody would want to watch quickly on their phone. And so a lot of that was like a streaming podcast. This was actually a podcast I did for your district, just talking about journalism in general. And then a lot of it is on social media. I mean, the quick takes of what's going on, what's happening. And that's where it lives. So journalism has to meet you guys where you live, and that's where it's headed. So a lot of you guys are already there. Traditional media is still slow to catch up to it, but it's getting better. But you'll see a major push. If they're not already there, they're behind. And a lot of news stations know that, and they're trying to get there. So, I don't know, we only have a few more minutes, so I want to leave you with this one quote. This was a quote that I had on my desk for the last 15 years. When I first got into journalism, I thought I had to be perfect. I thought I had to do everything perfect. I was constantly trying to live up to some expectation that didn't exist. And one of my colleagues gave me this quote, and it was exactly what I needed to hear for the last half of my career. And now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. And I remember looking at that every day on my desk and thinking, gosh, who am I trying to prove myself to? And the minute I realized that, the minute I could just be myself, and the minute I started doing that, my career took off. Suddenly, my social media account was exploding. My fan page was exploding. Once I stopped trying to be somebody else and just was myself, this mom from Utah who wanted to be a journalist, who enjoyed doing these things and covering certain elements, and just was myself in that element, my career took major leaps in ways I'd never even imagined. So I just wanted to share that. That was a quote I had on my desk for 15 years. So let's just end. What questions do you have about journalism? What can I answer for you? Why did I leave? I'm gonna be honest, I got let go in September. We had a disagreement, my company and I. We were going in different directions, and I didn't like where they were headed with me, and they didn't like the reaction from the public when they moved me that direction, and they let me go. So that's the truth. Yeah. Who's what? Who's George Floyd? Oh boy, you need to, we'll talk about that. Okay, other questions? Other questions? That's a question I get a lot, almost every day from people. That is the one thing about this business. It is subjective in terms of television news. You might not be everyone's favorite. The fact that I was at KSL for 18 years is pretty remarkable. Most stations people stay at for a few years and then they move on. I was lucky enough to stay at one station, the station I wanted to end my career at, for that long, which is pretty incredible. A lot of people don't get that longevity. So I feel very lucky. There's no hard feelings there. But it is not an easy business. I will be honest with you. Rough things happen. Somebody may not like you, and that could be the end of your career. So you just got to keep your head down, work hard, and do it because you love it, not because somebody else is asking you to. Am I interested in going back to it? Another honest question. I've got an offer on the table right now for another station, and I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I have to answer him soon, though. Yeah.
Do you have to suppress your political views if, like, the certain station?
Yes. Do I have to suppress my views? Yes. So in journalism, my views don't matter. They don't matter at all. So I might not like what you say, but I still have to report what you say. And I have to report both sides of it. So I've got to go find the opposing side to what you say. So I do. I have to keep my views out of everything. I still share my personality. You saw it in that intro there. I definitely share my personality because people want to hear from people who are like them and honest and real. But I do keep my views out of it when I'm on television. Yeah. Yeah. What about you guys? Anybody over here? Questions? Any dying questions? Yeah. It's hard. That is a great question. So mental health. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have seen a lot of awful, awful things and dealt with a lot of rough things. Obviously, even just talking about Ethan is hard. Fatalities, really difficult circumstances where I've been in the first on the scene of car accidents holding kids who have died. Really, really tough stuff. And it weighs on you. And the thing you learn over time is to compartmentalize, right? So I've got my work life, and then I've got my real life. And somehow, I don't know how, I am able to separate it most of the time. So if I have a really, really hard day at work, I can keep it there. And I can usually leave and go home and separate the two. Sometimes it bleeds over. Most of the time, if I have a really, really difficult story with a kid, I go home and I'm a better mom because I go home and I hug my kid more, or I spend more time with my kid. Or if I get really fired up about what's happening in the political landscape, I tend to go home and shut it all off and not get involved in any of it, you know. So it does weigh. One thing that's weighed heavily has been the teen suicide stuff that's been going on a lot, because I have a teen, you know him here, he will. So I think about those things, I worry when I hear about what's going on in this generation. And so it does weigh, because I'm also a mom. But I do. I think when you work in it long enough, you are able to kind of compartmentalize and keep it in different spaces. Yeah?
Do you believe you've made a difference with your career path?
Do I believe I made a difference? Yes, I do. Because in my career, I had to think about this when I stepped away from KSL a couple months ago. I have probably interviewed several thousand people over the course of my career here in Utah. And I think in those interactions, I've always approached it with empathy, right? Any interview I go into, I want to make sure I leave that person feeling like they trust me and that it was a good experience for them, even if it was a hard experience, right? And so I feel like even if I left that experience and left them feeling better, that I made a difference. And a lot of my stories, I hope, have made a difference. I did an investigative piece that in that kind of world that uncovered a toxic situation where a company was dumping rancid milk on open land and possibly contaminating the groundwater. And by doing that investigation, we changed what's happening there and possibly changed the future of development of that land. So little things like that, yeah, I think I did. I do, yeah.
Have you interviewed any rock stars or rock bands?
Rock bands? Oh, I don't know. I'm sure I have, but I don't remember. There's so many. I can't remember what I did last week. Yeah, guys, yeah. Go for it. How competitive? You know, when I first got into it, I thought it was competitive in the sense of like, oh, I thought somebody was always going to come get my job. I think there's space for everybody to do what they want to do. I think it's competitive in the sense that you're working against journalism struggling in society, right? Television news dying, right? You've got everything digital. That's where everything's living now, so you're competing against that space. I think that's where the competition is, not necessarily against you versus me, right? I think there's a different kind of competition now. When I first got into it, I always thought, oh, some younger, beautiful girl coming out of college is going to take my job. No, I don't think that competition is there anymore. I think it's simply I'm competing against time and journalism advancing, technology advancing, and how do I keep up with it? That's where the competition is. Yeah.
What do you think is your favorite thing to report on?
Favorite thing to report on? Breaking news. I want to be in the chaos. If there's some big fire burning, I want to be in the middle of it. If there's some tornado somewhere, I want to go chase it down. That's where I want to be. Yeah. Have I ever been hurt or attacked? Like in that riot, like I had smoke bombs thrown at me, knives chucked my way, like stuff like that. In terms of actually like hurt, physically, I don't think so. Had my feelings hurt. But no, I don't think so. No. Yeah.
Is there anything like that you couldn't talk about from like app news that you can talk about at home?
Is there anything I could talk about at news that I couldn't talk about at home? I think there's just appropriate things, right? There were certain things I could talk about at the news, but just weren't age appropriate for my kids.
Oh, okay.
You know, or just topic-wise. I could talk about the news, but probably not dinner table topics for my kids. So you just have to be careful, you know, with certain things. Yeah, we'll go back here first.
For someone wanting to get into like journalism or news, what kind of stuff would you say they should like practice at a young age?
Great question. If somebody wanted to get into this industry, what do you do at your age, right, to start? Creative writing, I would say. Start writing things down. get into your broadcasting classes, any sort of newspaper classes, journalism classes, any type of classes that will allow you to be creative. And whether that's theater, journalism, broadcasting, any of that stuff that's just gonna push you to be creative in that space. Digital content creation, you know, social media type stuff. I would get into that to start now. Yeah. Yes.
Whether or not you're allowed to say stuff, or like you've been given information, but you can't.
100%. Yeah, 100%. For example, this is just a very simple example. When I was on television, I posted once about a pair of earrings I really liked. I got a call from my news director, said, take it down. He made it immediately. I said, what? And she said, you cannot share that. I said, why? And she was like, because it looks like you're trying to influence somebody to buy those earrings. I said, are you kidding me? I'm not. I'm just sharing my favorite pair of earrings. That's what everyone's doing right now. And she was like, take it down immediately. That's a very simple version of that. So, but yes, there's certain things you cannot share.
Everyone, let's give a quick round of applause. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you guys for coming. Have a lovely day. There's a few more cookies. If you didn't get a cookie, grab them on your way out.
Hey.
You did so good.
Thanks for coming. You're so awesome. Okay. Nope, that one's yours.
Yay, I was able to
You're
come.
welcome. Yay. Hopefully that's all right.
Yes, that was perfect.
I was like, I don't know what.
No, that's weird, but can I get a picture
I would
of
love
you?
that. Yes, that would be great.